critical components from your perspective as a legislator?
From the
The
legislator's
safety,
perspective,
a study of
yes.
a study of the safety, and a study of the economic impact. Those are two critical elements that need to be reviewed. Are
Yes.
they available now?
They are now. They are now. And the economic study I was just telling you about, 2032. The panel that was put together, the Public Service Board panel that was put together, they have said that, there was no lying, there was no intent to misrepresent issues, that it was honest. I don't want to say mistakes because the study didn't say mistakes, but, not understanding questions asked and answered given, and so Entergy did not lie, So now we've heard months of horrible things about 5 of the nicest, most ethical people I've ever met in my entire life. Their careers have been destroyed. Their names have been destroyed. They've been called liars. And these are the 5 management people in Vermont Yankee. These were Vermonters. I read an article in the Reformer a couple weeks ago, or somebody had written a letter basically saying that the antis will be gone when Vermont Yankee's gone and the rest of us are going to be left holding the bag. And the Reformer made an editorial remark saying that they've never asked for the closing of Vermont Yankee, but they distrust Entergy.
Making a distinction between the current operator.
The current operator and the people that work at the plant. Well, there were people that worked at the plant that were giving this information. They're the ones whose reputations have been ruined, not Entergy's, theirs. And it really disgusted me. It really disgusted me to watch people, as far as I'm concerned, use other people for their own personal gain. You want to slide up in the polls a couple points? Let's bring this out as an issue. Let's scare the state of Vermont. Let's ruin these people's reputation. Let's risk 650 good-paying jobs, Vermonters' jobs. You hear a lot of, well, only 200 people are from Vermont. That's not true. I could bring people on your show that went to the elementary school across the street that now work at Vermont Yankee. And, we're regionalized here, Robin. How many Vermonters do you know work in New Hampshire or Massachusetts? How many Massachusetts people come here? That's what we do in this region. So we are losing 650 good-paying jobs. And if we're going to lose them, we need to know that the only reason why we're losing them is because, number one, safety. That's the only reason Vermont Yankee should close.
And can we read the report on the safety issue?
You can. I will get. I don't have it off the top of my head, but you can go online on the Vermont Ledge website and look up the study for the economic study for Vermont Yankee and the study for the safety panel of Vermont Yankee, and it's www.ledge.vt.state.us.
So those two big pieces, the two big pieces of the puzzle are available. And the studies that were commissioned on the safety piece and on the economic impact component, those were commissioned by the legislature.
By the legislature.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
by the legislature. So don't you think if we're going to commission and pay for these reports to be done, we should wait until we have the information in hand before we take votes?
Well, it sounds like another vote is going to happen.
It will. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to be there. I do know that I have people I know in the legislature that say that they're going to push for a vote. And, the people of Vermont, once they get educated as to what's happening, hopefully they'll push for a vote. Because the Senate certainly can take another vote. There's no reason for the Senate not to take a vote, and there's no reason for the legislature to not take a vote. And they should.
How does that happen?
The committee just writes the language, and it goes out onto the floor. The language would be very basic. It'll either say, do you think Vermont Yankee should be relicensed, or do you think the Public Service Board... No, let me go back to that, too, because there's been a lot of talk about the legislature taking a vote about Vermont Yankee. The legislature is not going to take a vote about whether or not Vermont Yankee should stay open. The vote the legislature is going to take, and took in last February, was whether or not the Public Service Board is going to be allowed to issue its report as to whether or not Vermont Yankee can be relicensed.
And the report is a recommendation?
Of whether or not Vermont Yankee can be relicensed, yes.
And a recommendation to who?
Actually, it's a relicensing. It's not a recommendation. It's a relicensing.
It's a decision.
Right. It's a decision. So the legislature is not making a decision on relicensing Vermont Yankee. They are making a decision on allowing the Public Service Board to do the job that the legislature put in law for them to do.
So Patty, obviously this is an important issue to you both personally, and it sounds like it's because it's your district. It's your constituents who work there. The economy is impacted by it. Do you feel that you are better able to serve those people outside of the legislature with your information, with your message, rather than in the legislature?
Well, you know, as I said in the beginning of, I think, the last program, you know, I made this decision to not run for the legislature for a lot of reasons. You know, the economy is really tough. My services are better done in my own business than running back and forth up the highway. The decision on Vermont Yankee will be made. It will have to be made the first couple of months of this session. It can't wait till next year. So I am going to advocate for the people in my district. I'm going to advocate for the state of Vermont. I'm not advocating for Entergy. I'm advocating for the people in this state. And I am going to make sure that I'm going to travel around the state with people who are knowledgeable about the nuclear industry and make sure only facts get to Vermonters, and then they can make their decision.
Apart from the nuclear power piece.
Oh, and I want to say, Robin, I would like people to know that I'm not getting paid for doing this, because there was a rumor around one of the towns in Windham County that I was being paid $150,000 to do this, and I'm not. I'm doing it because I believe in my heart that this is the right thing to do. Whatever decisions are being made, people have the right to know the truth before that decision's made.
Well, it sounds like you're finishing up a job that you started.
Yes.
Even in a different role. Based on your experience, both with nuclear power in the legislature, in your district, there's still a lot of discussion about alternative sources of energy. And again, we're blessed in this state and maybe cursed in a number of ways. But are there viable alternatives, whether they are replacement alternatives or they are supplemental alternatives for us to look at?
There are alternatives. Our energy future in Vermont has to be a portfolio of a lot of different things. No one thing is going to supply enough energy for the future of Vermont. Renewable energy certainly has to be an area that we explore and grow in. But at this point, there is not a single renewable switch that we can turn on and make up the difference in Vermont Yankee. And you have to remember, when Vermont Yankee closes, it's not only Vermont that suffers, it's the entire region, because Entergy's or Vermont Yankee's power goes on through ISO on the grid and is spread around the region. So it's going to have a regional effect when Vermont Yankee closes. And there is no switch. I mean, you can't put a windmill on or any other kind of renewable energy and make up for the amount of energy that Vermont Yankee is given. And even with the new contract with Hydro-Quebec, all that does is replace Hydro-Quebec's power, which we already have. It's not in addition to the power that we already have here as a portfolio in the state of Vermont.